watching Trails of Doom TV, and today we are going to do a strip down video on the Tippmann A-5. So we got here, this is the Henry's Tippmann A-5. I just redid mine the other day, and people always ask me online, they're always like, well, how does a Tippmann shoot well? And the key to a Tippmann operating the best it can do is to polish the internals, obviously, and run different O-rings than the stock O-rings. Right now I'm running Buna O-rings. You can get these on eBay or O-ring places. I buy them in bulk on eBay because I have so many A5s. The Buna O-rings or the silicone, I prefer silicone, they're just harder to find. They don't last as long as the stock Tippmann O-rings that come with them, but I find these work better. If you look at a high-end marker, they always have higher-end O-rings. So Tippmann uses okay O-rings in their markers, but their goal is longevity. I don't really care how long they last. I mean, if an O-ring lasts a year, that's fine with me. Whereas a typical Tippmann paintball gun you can use for years and years with the stock O-rings. Well, I'd rather have better performance, so I use a higher-end O-ring in mine. So first of all, we're going to strip this thing down. He's got paint in here, so that's all you have to do, take that off and leave the paint in there. Set this aside. One of the reasons why I always recommend Tippmanns is that, I mean, to be able to take the barrel off of your gun that quickly, this one has an O-ring on there, and if this were my personal gun, I'd take that O-ring off because that makes the seal a little tighter and it's a little harder to remove. If you take that off, then it comes off even easier. I like my paintball gun to be easy to take the barrel on and off, so that if you're out in the field playing and something happens and you need to clean your barrel, like if you get a barrel break or if somebody shoots in the end of your barrel, I mean, it's handy to be able to do that quickly. Alright, so let's strip this thing down. First of all, you're going to take out the pins that are quick release pins. So you just pop those out. Now the back will want to pop out depending on how tight your gun is. So just pull that out, take your spring out, take off your rear piece, and then depending on what model of A5 you have, it may have that inside or may not. Some of these can be kind of hard to get out. Fine if you just hit it with something, pop it out a lot easier. I usually carry a pair of channel locks just for pulling these out. It's easier on your fingers. And then pop this little clip right here down, and then that tombstone will slide right out, and then you can take the whole grip off the gun. Okay. Inside here is your first O-ring right there. These rarely leak, but if they do, they'll be leaking out right here. So I typically leave that in, just put a little bit of oil on it whenever I take them apart. It's just like the same type of O-ring that you have on your tank. And then that's good to go. You could put a higher end O-ring in there, but it doesn't really do much except seat, so it doesn't really need it. Alright, and you're going to take this off, grip. If you take it off and leave that in there, and you flip it over, it'll leave that in there so it's easier to put back in later. Okay, now you take out all these. Luckily, these are all the same size, so then it doesn't matter which one you put in which place. You just got to remember to put them all in. I always line all my stuff up in front of me when I'm doing this. It just makes it easier so I don't forget. The one you want to be careful of is this one right here, because there's a spring inside here, and if you're not careful when you take these halves apart, that spring can shoot out, so you don't want that to happen. Same's true with the 98. The 98 has a little quick release right up here for your taking off your hopper, and I remember the first time I took it apart, I shot that dude across the kitchen. It took me like an hour to find it. Little tiny spring. I was like, man, what a pain. So, alright. So all those are out. This is the only thing that holds the CYCLONE on, is this large one here. Alright, now hold your finger on this part down here when you take this out, and that'll keep that spring from shooting out. This part is the valve. This is the most important thing to clean, and if you don't do a good job on this, this is what determines whether your paintball gun is going to fire accurately or not. So they're really easy to strip down. Take this screw out. This is your velocity screw. So obviously when you do this, you have to re-chronograph your gun, because now we just set it to off. So the next time I use this, I have to chrono it, which you should always chrono your gun every time you use it anyway, because it's going to spike. All you do is reach in here with a pair of pliers like this, pull that out, the whole thing, just like that. Alright? So now comes the tricky part. I have this little tiny screwdriver which I use to pop this O-ring out, and you can see I've already replaced his O-rings with the black type the last time I did this on his marker. Take out your spring. This is the most important part of a Tippmann right here, and if this thing is dirty at all, or if this washer's dirty, see how it's dirty? See all that grime around it? Now look inside there. Can you see the grime inside there? Little trick I found. Slide this in here and pop that loose. Now there's an O-ring in there, see it? Now I replaced this recently, so I know this O-ring's good, but I'm still going to take it out. See how dry that is? Now this is the O-ring, and see inside there? If you can see inside, see how it's dirty inside there? That dirt is caused by using CO2 or compressed air, either one. When you're playing, that air is shooting through there, and if it's dirty at all, it collects inside here. And if it collects, you get a layer of buildup. I mean, you can literally see it on there. It's a layer of buildup inside there, and that layer of buildup will cause your shot-to-shot consistency to change. So you got to clean that off. Now again, that's what I use this little guy for. Get it in there and just knock all that off. Now you don't want to do it too rough that you score it, because you want a good seal there, but you can actually feel it on there. It's like a buildup of plaque on your teeth, and that will cause your Tippmann to not fire as consistently shot to shot. So when people say, oh, what's it mean when you're dialing in your Tippmann? I thought all Tippmanns were the same. When a guy's working on a rental gun at the rental place, you know, where you go to a field, they're not doing this work on one of these. They're just putting new O-rings in it and leaving all this stuff in there. And if you're not going to do this step of cleaning that out, so you can see in there it's cleaner now than it was. If you're not going to clean, see that dirt on here? This one's not bad. There's a little bit. See it on there? Now that's the kind of stuff that, and all around that seam right there, that's keeping it from having a flush mount. And anything that's not completely flush, it won't operate as well. Alright, so this O-ring doesn't feel good. I'm going to change that O-ring out with a new one. Even though I replaced that this summer. So that's only been used for a few months. But it just doesn't feel right. And after a while you get used to what O-rings should feel like. You know, they look about the same. This one's a little higher gloss because it has oil on it, but this feels fresher. This feels a little coarser. And as they start to go bad, they get harder. And the harder the O-ring is, the worse it'll perform. You want a soft O-ring. Alright, so I'm getting all the debris off of this. And it doesn't, I mean, there's not much on there, but it doesn't take much. I mean, just a little bit on it and it'll affect how it fires. Alright, then what you want to do is, this goes like that on there. You want to put some oil on it. People always ask me, what kind of oil do you use? Gold Cup lubricant. Got that from one of my orders when I ordered some stuff. What I do is I put it on my screwdriver, slide my screwdriver through the hole, and then slide it down in there. And what that does is it keeps it from spinning when you're trying to seat it down in there. Otherwise, if you try to do it without doing that, you'll see it's a pain to get it down in there. Because it'll flip over on you a bunch of times and it's just a lot more trouble. So that's the fast way to do it. Alrighty, so that's in there. Now, you want to put some oil on this end of it here, because that's what seats up to everything. I don't want too much on it, but I want enough that it's got a good seal. Then that dude slides down in there. Then your spring. Now we got to clean this washer off. Because all those little build-up layers of dirt, you don't want them to get right back into your valve, because then all the work you just did is worthless. So clean it all. If I had my Dremel tool out, I might even polish it a little bit, but I don't feel like getting it out. Alright. Now I need... I'll go ahead and replace that O-ring too, because that one feels a little bad. So these are kind of tricky to push in. You just push them in with your finger. And get your tool. You don't want to score anything, so be careful pushing on it. And you don't want to mess up your O-ring by putting a notch in it. There we go. Then you want to light oil on that. And that's what seats up against your tombstone, like that. Okay? So if you're ever leaking out your tombstone, you need to replace that O-ring and grease that area up. See that dirt on there? Yeah, let's clean that off too. Alright, that looks better. A little bit of lube on that. Alright, so that's ready to go back in. I always check out my Powertube, make sure there's not any cracks in it. I mean, this is the factory one, the plastic one that comes with them. And I've never seen any big difference between these and the aluminum ones or the other ones that you can buy, so I've always used this. Now when putting this back in, this has to line up perfectly with that hole there. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're lined up before you push it in, because it's a pain if it's off. Now, run this guy back in. And again, re-chrono your marker. I'm going to put it about where it was. I'm making a video.
You're sitting on the pod?
I'm not sitting on the pod, I'm making a video. Do you want to be in it? Come down here.
No.
My daughters. And my wife. Alright, so Powertube's ready. Now take the rest of it apart. You know, people always talk about polishing the internals. Biggest thing you want to polish is this part right here. This is what needs to be the smoothest, but you don't want to take off too much material, See how it's real shiny? If you take off too much material, then you're just going to cause problems because it won't seat well. I'm going to go ahead and change this O-ring out because this is old. Make sure you get the right size one back on. And you'll get a little bit of oil on it. Biggest thing people do when they're redoing their markers, they put too much oil in it. And you really don't want to do that. It doesn't take much. So I usually polish this area and this area when I do the polishing. This one's already been done. Now put our power tube. It's ready to go. Put the screw side towards the hole, which puts this right here. There's a little rubber notch right there that you know it's seated right when you have it. So keep all your old O-rings in a stack so you don't mix up your O-rings when you're doing this. When you put it back together, make sure you put your ball detent back in. Always order extra ball detents because when one of these goes bad, it's just a real hassle. And make sure you put that back in. Then this goes right here. When you feel an O-ring and it doesn't have that grippy feel to it, it needs to be replaced. And you're always better off, when in doubt, just replacing it because O-rings are cheap. Yeah, it's got a weird feel to it. They start getting hard after a while, and when they get hard, they're not doing their job. Alright, so oil that dude up. Slide it on here. Put that on there. This slides in here. Slide that up so it's hooked on that. This is the newer style. The old ones were metal, which I like better. It's just kind of interesting to see how parts change over time. This slides in the back of that. Alright, so we're ready to put it back together again. After I clean this out, of course. Alright, I always put a couple drops of oil on the back side of this and on this side. And we're ready. Before you put your clamshells back on, make sure that's in, make sure this is right, make sure you put that back in, make sure that ball detent is in, and make sure that's on. And then you're good to go. So when you get it, hold it. You can hold it together like this and keep it in place and get your screws back in. Alright, that is it. Now, all you gotta do is put this. Now, put this in here. Slide that bad boy on, hold it in place. Now you push these caps in. Now it's good to go. I always cock it and fire it, make sure it's firing right. Now let's take off this and clean it out. So we already have the screw out. just pops off. It's usually stuck on there because there's usually some paint holding it in place. I keep my finger on there to keep it from spinning, put less pressure on that little rubber hose there. Oftentimes people neglect maintenance on their CYCLONE, but the CYCLONE is one of the most, one of the pieces that really does need maintenance, because without a good amount of oil inside it, it won't operate correctly. And it'll cause it to not feed paint when you're late in the day and really need it. CYCLONEs are really easy to maintain. I'll show you how. Alright, so all you do is take these out. Since these are plastic, you don't want to use any type of power tools or anything like that, because you can strip it out. Just put them on finger tight, not real tight. I notice a lot of times with small screws people really try to wrench it down, and that's a bad idea. You don't need to do that. Alright, hold on to this when you take this out. Push up a little bit to break it loose. There's your ratchet and everything right there. Now when you pull this out, that's going to spring forward. This needs to be oiled. Now this has a good amount of oil on it. If you have the newer style, like the new 2011 A5, it has little holes here, which is like the Tech T QEPH, and those holes pick up dirt, so you have to do this maintenance more often. If you have the older style without the holes, then you don't have to maintain it as often, but it doesn't operate on as low efficiency. So like with my A5, I have the new style, the 2011 CYCLONE on it, and I can run really low pressure in my CO2 tank or in my air tank, and it'll still cycle the CYCLONE, and that's because of the holes in there. So there's a drawback and there's a benefit. It just depends on what you want. Now, the reason I always check these, this has the black ratchet inside, and if you don't have the black ratchet, if you have the white one, I don't know if I have any of the white ones. Here's a metal one that I bought years ago, and I wore that dude out. You can see how it's worn. That's what you're looking for. You always want to check your ratchet out and make sure that these teeth here are really clean and they look good. Notice how there's no oil inside here. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to take it apart, because I'm going to put some oil in it. That's something that you definitely want to keep oiled, because this thing operates by moving in there. And see how it's a little rough? We'll oil that. And it operates a lot smoother. So that's what you want to make sure that it's doing. Now the inside of his CYCLONE is spotless, so I'm not going to take it apart. To take it apart, you just take that screw off, and then these come off, and then that'll be loose, and you can pull this out the other end. But it's spotless inside, so I don't need to remove it. I usually take it apart if I've had a ball break inside there. He's using the old style paddles, and he's not breaking paint, obviously, because there you go. So if it doesn't have paint in it, you don't really need to take it apart. So in order to put this back, I'm going to oil this up. This is the O-ring that you really want to make sure is well oiled. Put a little bit on there. Slide this dude back on there. And you're going to have to slide this on with that little piece pushed in. See that? Slide that around out of the way. Then you're ready to put this back on. Make sure if this came out, a lot of times this will slide out. Make sure it's back in there, because otherwise it won't bolt onto the gun. It'll snap on like that. Then you're ready to put your screws back in. Alright, And again, just finger tight. You don't need to crimp these things down or anything. And that just goes right back on there, like that. You want to turn this out of the way. I put it on top. The O-ring here, make sure you don't lose that. Oil it up a little before you put it back on. If it's ever not ratcheting, first thing you want to check is that airline. Make sure that the airline's not dirty or clogged or something. Put your finger on there like that just to keep it so when you crimp it down it doesn't move on you. That's it. That's how you maintain a cyclone. So make sure it's going to spin, and it does. Put this back on to lock it back in place. Alrighty, put our grip back on. It's important to really crimp down the grip. I usually do it like this because it just drives me crazy when I'm playing if that grip moves at all. And I like mine set about halfway, so I have some room in front of it. It feels good for me. And then there you go. Good to go. Ready to play. That's how you dial in a Tippmann A-5. Older style, newer style, the same way. They're just a little bit different pieces here and there, but they work the same way as this. But that's what I do when I'm stripping down an A5 and checking it out and getting it all ready. Thanks for watching.